Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Jen here, and I have a really exciting announcement this morning. So I finally got my new podcasting microphone and all the stuff that goes with it and hooks up to it, like the little mixing board and everything. So now I'm a professional podcaster, and I'm so excited about it. But if you're wondering why the sound quality doesn't sound like I am a professional podcaster, then it's because I don't actually have the microphone and everything hooked up yet. Hopefully I will soon, but I need my tech-savvy husband to help me with that one. But you were right. Yes, I do not have my microphone hooked up yet, so I am just using my same old system that I have been using. I will definitely post a picture of it once it's all up and set up and everything, and I will post that to my Facebook page to let you guys see how professional I look. Today we are in Matthew chapter 5. Today I'm going to be reading from verse 27 through 30 today, and we will be talking about what Jesus says about adultery. So let's see what he has to say about that, and I am going to be reading out of the AMP version today to give us a little bit more clarity as to what is happening here. You have heard that it was said, "You shall not commit adultery." But I say to you that everyone who so much as looks at a woman with lust for her has already committed adultery with her in his heart. If your right eye makes you stumble and leads you to sin, tear it out and throw it away. That is, remove yourself from the source of temptation. For it is better for you to lose one of the parts of your body than for your whole body to be thrown into hell. If your right hand makes you stumble and leads you to sin, cut it off and throw it away. That is, remove yourself from the source of temptation. For it is better for you to lose one of the parts of your body than for your whole body to go into hell. So this is a pretty intense portion of scripture here where Jesus is talking about adultery and how it's not just a physical act of adultery, but also something that's in the heart. And God in the Old Testament talks about how he looks at the heart of the people and not the outward appearance. It says in the Bible, God looks at the heart, not the outward appearance. So Jesus is saying here that the heart is really what matters to God, where your heart is. So you might be married and you might not actually be committing adultery. But if you look at a woman lustfully, you are committing adultery with her in your heart. And actually, I want you guys to take note of something here. It says in verse 28, "But I say to you that everyone who so much as looks at a woman with lust for her has already committed adultery with her in his heart." God is saying that everyone who looks at a woman with lust is committing adultery in their heart. And I never really took note of that before, that God is not just talking to men here. This is also for women. God is saying everyone who looks lustfully at someone is committing adultery with them. And he even goes on to say that if your right eye makes you stumble and leads you to sin, tear it out and throw it away. Can you imagine listening to your teacher or your Messiah, like sitting there and he says something like this, like, if your right eye makes you stumble and causes you to sin, tear it out. What would you be thinking? I would be like, oh boy, I would be really scared. But Jesus is saying here, remove yourself from the temptation. It would be better for you to lose an eyeball than to have your entire body be thrown into hell. You don't necessarily have to pluck your eyeball out, but remove yourself from that temptation. So if you are seeing something that is causing you to sin in your heart, look away. Turn yourself from it. Look away from it. And then he goes on to say even further, if your right hand makes you stumble and leads you to sin, cut it off and throw it away. That is, remove yourself from the source of temptation. For it is better to you to lose one of the parts of your body than for your whole body to go into hell. And I've actually heard women recently, actually, I saw something that said, like, do you remember that one Bible verse where God says that if a woman dresses unmodestly and a guy looks at her, he needs to tear his eyeball out? And a lot of women take this as if they're off the hook. But no, first off, like I said, Jesus says everyone here. In verse 28, he says everyone who does these things. So that implies women as well. This is not just for men. And, in 1 Timothy, Paul talks about how a woman should dress. So let's go ahead and jump over there to 1 Timothy real quick. And I think it's 1 Timothy 2, verse 9. And it says, likewise, I want women to adorn themselves modestly and appropriately and discreetly in proper clothing, not with elaborately braided hair and gold or pearls or expensive clothes, but instead adorned by good deeds, helping others as is proper for women who profess to worship God. So women are not off the hook. Yes, if a man looks at a woman lustfully, he is the one who is sinning. But women need to make sure that we are dressing ourselves modestly. We don't want a man to fall into temptation and sin, do we really? If you are putting that temptation out there and a man is looking at you, then in a sense, you are not helping that man. For sure, you are not helping him. And yes, he needs to control his own emotions and desires, but it's not just a one-way street. Paul specifically says to women, dress modestly. If you profess to worship God, you need to dress yourselves modestly. And like I said, the man definitely has fault when he is looking at a woman lustfully in his heart. That is a sin. That is absolutely a sin. But it is also a sin to not dress modestly if you are a woman. It's a sin to say that you profess to worship God, and yet you are not dressing in proper clothing. And so women are not off the hook in this portion of scripture at all. And like I said, Jesus is talking to everybody here, not just to men. This is also for women. So women also should not be lusting after other women or after other men. And men should not be lusting after women, even if those women choose to dress immodestly. That is still on the man for them to turn their eyeballs to a different direction and to stop looking at that woman. But this is a breakdown of Matthew chapter 5, verses 22 through 30 today, I think. Or I'm sorry, not 22, 27 through 30. And join me again tomorrow. We will be back in Genesis for another discussion in there. And also, I'll let you guys know when I have my podcasting microphone set up and everything. Make sure to follow my Facebook page, P40 Ministries. And definitely take a look at that and like it and everything. That I'd be super appreciative of all of you guys, and I am anyway. I am so thankful for all of my followers and listeners, and I hope that this podcast is reaching you and touching you in some way. I really hope so, because that is what my goal is here, is just to spread the gospel a little bit more. And if this podcast is touching you in any way, definitely share it on your social media platforms. But I am going to ask that everybody has a wonderful rest of your day. Happy listening, and God bless.